You're watching Onward with Onrie. I'm your host, Onrie Kompan. Today we're going to be talking about leadership. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Now, the thing about leadership for me is I don't think it's something that needs to be defined. We all know that leadership is an important skill that business owners should have. All right. When you're running your own show, it is important that you have the ability to influence people to get the job done. All right. So I'm going to give you some really quick tips, 3 quick tips, in order to help you improve those skills, because they are absolutely essential for any kind of business you have. It doesn't matter if you're working in comics or in some field outside of it. You need to portray some form of leadership with whatever business you have. It's a front that you show to your customers, to the people working for you, and to the general public. All right, and so let's jump right to it. So the first thing that I think is important to have as a skill of leadership is respect. You absolutely have to respect everybody mutually, especially the people that work for you. If the people that work for you don't have, if they don't feel respected by you, they are not going to respect you in return. So it has to be a reciprocation, right? And the thing about respect is that there's going to be times when people are going to test your limits, all right? Especially people that work for you. And I don't mean this in any bad way. Fortunately, over the years, I have had really positive experiences with the people that I have worked with. But there come times when you can get frustrated about how things are moving, like maybe an artist is not coming through on a deadline quite as fast as you had hoped. And the important thing to do is to make sure that you don't blow up at them, because you have no idea what's going on in their lives. Like, for example, let's say an artist owes you pages and you followed up with them and they didn't respond to you, and you keep going back to them constantly, right? And a week has passed, maybe even 2 weeks have passed, so now you're really freaking out. When you send that email, it is very important that you keep it brief and that you don't say anything aggressive, because you don't know what's going on in that artist's life. Like, for example, they could have had their parents die, and over the last 2 weeks they were in the hospital and didn't have a chance to actually sit down and get any work done. You don't know what's going on in people's lives, so it's very important that you respect everybody mutually. And the same thing can go for your customers too. I talk about this all the time. When you're at a convention and someone chooses not to buy your book, you have to be respectful of their decision. All right? So respect is an incredibly important aspect of leadership. The second most important tip that I can give you for improving your leadership ability is keeping your eye on the ball. All right? Now, what I mean by this is I'm defining leadership as the ability to influence multiple groups of people to come together to achieve one supreme goal, right? So that supreme goal, in, say, the case of Yisun Chin, is to get the book into as many people's hands as possible. Now, there might be some people who might be trying to influence me in some ways, maybe stop publishing comics and start, making, some sort of lame knickknacks, in order to really boost the brand. And doing that is a pure example of how I'd be taking my eye off the ball if I chose to actually pursue this idea. And in some cases, it depends what your goals are. My goal is to get this book done and get it out there, right? But my goal is also to build my brand. So, in some cases, you might come across a situation where it's actually more opportunistic to make that move, but you still have to keep your eye on the ball. You have to know that if you make that move, you can go back to achieving your supreme goal, because if you start changing your mind rapidly and you start getting easily influenced by the people that work for you, they're going to lose faith in you as a leader. So it's very important that you be ahead of the curve. You need to be 2 to 3 steps ahead of everybody that works for you. And you have to be 2 to 3 steps ahead of your customers too. You have to know what their needs are. You have to be able to meet those needs as quickly as possible. All right? Now, the third thing is action. You have to take action. All right? What I mean by this is there's no cutting corners. You're the guy who is the first one to show up at work and the last one to leave. You're the last person to get paid. You're also responsible for basically, you're the first person to get blamed for every wrong thing that happens. All right? Now, you don't want to build your business around that. You don't want to be seen as that. I believe that a good, strong leader is never put into question. Their integrity is never put into question. They're pushing themselves right alongside the rest of the team. They are at the front lines, shoulder to shoulder with everybody they work with, and they are moving forward. They are pushing, and they are trying to achieve something. And they are 2 to 3 steps ahead. They know exactly what they need to achieve. They know exactly what the next step is. They know what the step after that is going to be too. You know, like, and and that's the thing. You know, as the creator of Yisun Shin, not only am I responsible for making sure that this book gets done, I'm also responsible for going to conventions and selling it. No one else is going to do that. And I can't expect them to do something like that. I have to rise to the occasion. And when you do that as a leader, it inspires people. It makes them want to follow you. All right? All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll see you next week with a new episode. Until then, onward to victory.